What's up, guys? Sci-Fi Guy 2094 here. Today I have a really good review for you. So the other day I came across this show called Vikings on Netflix. It's from 2019. I had no intention of watching this show. I just came across it. I'm like, okay, it's got 6 seasons. I'm probably not gonna actually watch all of this, but I just watched season 1. I don't normally stick with TV shows because I just get bored of them, but I gotta say, this is a very interesting show. So, it stars Travis Fimmel. He's an Australian actor who also stars in the Dune Prophecy series on HBO. And, sorry, dog here. So, basically, this is the years, it's like the 900s, right? So, this is in Scandinavia. And we're introduced to Ragnar Lothbrok, who is basically he works for this lord, right? So this lord provides ships. You know, the lord's the rich guy who kind of controls everything. Ragnar Lothbrok is just basically a farmer, and the lord provides these ships and like the tools and everything. So the men go on these raids, and they've been going raiding, east, right? So I think they mentioned Russia. I'm not 100% sure, but basically they've been, you know how Vikings, they plunder different places and things like that. And Ragnar is he keeps bringing this up to the Lord, or the king guy, and he's like, hey, so what about sailing west, because there's probably land there with riches, and we can plunder as well to the west. But the Lord is like, yeah, they're just rumors, I don't want to hear any more about that. So eventually Ragnar enlists the help of Floki, who's this kind of weird this weird guy, right? But basically Floki builds him a ship. So he's been building this ship in secret for Ragnar, and eventually he sails west, and they come across a tribe of people that's basically somewhere in I think it's like somewhere in England, and they find these monks, right? And they basically just, I mean, these people aren't combatant. They basically just kill all these monks, right? They take some of them as slaves, and then they go back home. And the king finally sees that, okay, there's lands to the west. They went there without his permission. So basically Ragnar and his crew, they basically give him all the gold to appease him. So eventually they start more raids going westward, and it's endorsed by the king. Like, the king is like, okay, yeah, you guys can go westward. And he initially was hesitant, but once he sees that there's gold and treasures, he's like, yeah, you guys can go. So eventually they start going more westward, and they're raiding and plundering, things of that nature. And eventually we come into a conflict between Ragnar and the Lord, and the way they settle this is he's challenged to one-on-one combat between Ragnar and the Lord. So Ragnar wins, and he basically becomes the new lord of this specific village in Scandinavia, right? So they continue their raids. Now Ragnar Lothbrok is basically the leader of this village, right? So they continue west, and they find these Saxons. So Saxons are, I guess, they're these Germanic people. And so they battle with the Saxons, and they end up winning, and then they return home, and they've got tons of treasure, right? So everything's going good for Ragnar Lothbrok. And eventually he comes back home, and what happens is he then has to go to like a different land for this like weird ceremony where they try to like appease the gods for good favor and things of that nature. So they have to sacrifice like 9 of each animal. So there's like goats, chickens, but then there's like this empty pen, and the monk is like the monk that he took as a slave earlier on. He's like, well, what's this pen for? And he's like, humans. So yeah, unfortunately, the monk was brought there as a human sacrifice, but he couldn't be sacrificed because he did not denounce. I mean, he denounced his Christianity, but he was actually still a Christian and believed in God and Jesus. So he couldn't be sacrificed because he didn't believe in the Nordic gods, like Thor, Odin, Loki, and the other gods, right? In Norse mythology. So they have this human sacrifice, animal sacrifice thing to appease these gods for good fortune, right? And then following that, there's a dispute of land between a lord that kind of allies himself with Ragnar Lothbrok, and then there's this other king who's like, well, that's my land and it's contested, and they're trying to figure out a way to come to a conclusion without going to war, but unfortunately it doesn't really work out. And then at the end, Ragnar's brother kind of joins the other king, and he's like, yeah, I'll fight with you against my brother, because he's kind of tired of living in the shadow of his brother, because his brother has been hailed as like this great warrior on the battlefield, and he's kind of like, he wants to be a great man himself, right? So that's how season 1 ends. That's just a quick rundown of everything that really happened. I just want to run through like the main points really quick. So I gotta say, this show is really cool. Obviously it's based on Norse mythology, and I think if you're into Nordic Northmen type of mythology, I think you'll like this show quite a lot. It's very interesting. It's very intriguing because you get to see like what societies were like back then, and like 800 900s. Basically, in order to have land and gain kingdoms, you have to just plunder, and basically kill everybody and take the money. But I mean, that's kind of how the world was back then. I mean, it's super interesting. I'm not saying it's like good, that these people are like great people or anything, but, and again, I don't know how much of this is historically accurate, right? It's it's a Netflix show, so I don't know how much of this is like historically accurate, but it seems pretty believable. Like, it seems like this is how a Norse society like would be during that time. So I really like that. It's really good. It's got good action. It's got really good choreography. The acting is great from Travis Fimmel. He's the main character. He does a fantastic job. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say the performances are great. And just kind of like the lore is pretty interesting, like the whole mythology surrounding Nordic gods, and how these people try to appease the gods, and then them coming into contact with Christians, and they're like, okay, the Christians only have like one god, and his name is Jesus Christ, whereas the Northmen have like all these gods, and they have so many different fables and things of that nature. So it's pretty interesting to see the relationship between Ragnar and then the monk, which is like, he takes him as a slave, but he kind of just treats him as like a member of his family. It's weird. It's like, you think slaves would be like really beaten down and abused, but no, like, he trusts this guy to like basically watch over the farm and his wife and his children, like whenever he goes west to do these raids, and the monk will stay there, and keep an eye on everything. There's no infidelity. He didn't sleep with Ragnar's wife or anything. He's basically celibate, right? So he kind of pledges to be like a virgin, right? Because he's a monk, right? So it's kind of like Catholic nuns, like how they take a vow of celibacy. It's kind of like that. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Norse mythology, but I'm finding this very interesting. It's a very good show. If you like Norse mythology, or if you want to learn more about it, or if you really just like action with like a lot of blood and fighting, because there is a lot of that in this show, you should definitely check this out. It's called Vikings. It is a 2019 show on Netflix, original series. And man, I gotta say, I am impressed. I do not normally watch TV shows, just because I always lose interest in them. But this one has got me hooked. I just finished season one, which is like 9 episodes. So I'm definitely going to continue and watch season two, because this show is very interesting. It really pulls you in. Kind of the politics of the time, and the warriors, the warrior culture, right? Is obviously, I knew about the whole dying on the battlefield and you going to the halls of Valhalla. Like, everybody kind of knows that aspect of Norse mythology. But yeah, it just, the alliances that they're forming, and going west, meeting the Saxons, going to war with them. It's interesting, man. It's very interesting. So if you like Norse mythology, or you just like action, adventure, and you like to see a lot of blood, this this show has so much blood. Like man, it's graphic, man. It is graphic. If you're squeamish, do not watch this show. There's also quite a bit of sex in this show, so there's ass and titties everywhere. So that's just a warning for you people who are not like into the whole nudity in your TV shows. But yeah, definitely a lot of that. Fantastic performances. I don't know Ragnar's wife. I don't know the actress that plays her, but she's fantastic. And same with the guy who plays the monk. Like, all the performances are really, really good in this show. So I just watched season one. I'm going to watch season two probably this weekend, or at least get started on it. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on Vikings season one. I am kind of late to the game because this has been out since 2019, but I definitely wanted to talk about it because I thought it was a really cool show, and I would recommend that you guys check it out.